Mike McKinnon, 3 Oaks Senior High. This is a demonstration of the wheel balancer here. John Bean, snap-on. So first I'm going to go over setting up a wheel onto the arbor of it. There's 4 different cones for this one. 3 of the cones, you're just going to use the cone, mostly, the cone and the wing nut to hold it on, and it'll come from the outside. I'll show you that in a minute with the wheel. The only variable, most of the variables you're going to run into is when you hit a small hub hole, you're going to have to put the cone on first, put the wheel on, and then tighten the cone. And that's because it's a thin wall here, it gets jammed inside here, so it doesn't work very well that way. So this wheel here, the next thing setting up the wheel based on which cone you decide to pick is the one that goes in the hub hole the most. So we've got 3, this is the large, this is the next, and this is the next size down. So that one goes almost all the way through, okay? And this one doesn't quite go in the hub hole at all, but if it did just go in a little bit, it wouldn't be this cone you would use. You would use the one that goes in the most. So, setting it up, set the wheel on there, but be careful that you're not slamming it down. Put your cone in. Support your wheel up a bit. I just use another cone to give some space to the thread so you're not threading a whole lot. It doesn't change the calibration. Once it's on and tight, you want to give the wheel a bit of a spin. For a few reasons. You want to check to see if your setup is right, that there's no run out. You can also check for a broken belt, and you can also look for a bent wheel at this time. So most times you're balancing a tire, it's because you just replaced them, or the customers come in with a concern of vibration. So that'd be a time you'd want to leave the weights that are on it, set it all up and check it. But it's also that time you can check for the bent wheel or a bad belt, broken belt that might cause a vibration. So I usually give it a little spin just to eye it up and make sure it's running fairly true. Careful, dirt and spots will give the impression that it's maybe run out, but just make sure you're using a critical eye. Okay, now we get to tires on there, now we got to set it up. So there's 3 things that we got to do to tell the machine where that wheel is. So the first one that you do is you're going to see these triple lines. That's what you want to get before you start doing the setup. So I'll set up and I'll explain these 3 buttons here. So those 3 lines, as soon as I pull this out, you're going to see numbers come here. And you're going to go to where the bead of the tire would sit. It's sitting at 97, that's 97 millimeters. But there's a tape gauge on this here, and we're at 9 centimeters, a little over 9.5 centimeters. So I know that the accuracy between the 2 are pretty close. If that's way off, then there's something up. Let that come back in. The next one is your wheel diameter here. I didn't have to press it, it automatically went to it. So now I'm going to look at the sidewall and look at the size. So we would have went over sizes 195, 65, 15. So it's a 15-inch. Now, it beeped, it went to the next setting. So I now have to manually hit that, and I'm going to make it say 15. So that's the diameter of the wheel. The 3rd setting is the width from bead to bead. So I'll press that and use a gauge here, kind of burn your calipers, and it has numbers on it right here. So what's on there now is 6.5, so that would be 6.5. So we'll put it in on this tire, bead to bead, and we're reading 6. So we'll register that at 6. Okay, now I can double check to make sure all my numbers are what they're supposed to be, and then I can start the wheel balance. So I'm going to let it down here, and then I'll explain a couple of what we see here in a minute. It's a slow speed balancer. Some people have a big plastic hood over it and it'll be spinning at high speeds. So this is now telling us a few things. So we have 2 ounces. This is set up to do ounces, not grams. So 2 ounces and then nothing here. But that's because of what we see here. That green light indicates that we're only balancing the inside of this wheel. So because it's already spun once and it's recorded where the weights need to be put, I can now change. This here button here looks the same. Basically all the indicators are the same as what's up here. So when I keep pressing that, it'll change what the weights mean. That green one means a hammer-on weight, so you would use a hammer. And this is going to change here now in a second. Those, the red squares, those indicate that you would be using stick-on wheel weights, and that's the locations that you would put those weights. So we go here, so that would be one weight stick-on here, and the next stick-on would go inside the wheel underneath. Okay? And that's one hammer-on, one stick-on. We're going to do both hammer-on, so I'm waiting to see green and green. And you'll see the weights are changing as I scroll through the different areas that the weights can go. So that's one hammer on the outside, one stick on the inside. Okay, so now I have two weights. So you'll remember in the video it said 2 ounces over here for just one side. What you need to caution, some people don't like to have weights on the outside of their wheel, aluminum wheels, whatever. They may just want weights on the inside. Then you have to advise that customer that he or she may have a shake still when they leave, because you're only balancing them statically. So you're only balancing for a radial up and down vibration. If the heavy spot's on this side and your needs a counterweight on this side to prevent a side to side, that vibration is still going to be there if you only do one side. So we always try to do a dual side, and now with the stick-on capability, there's no reason not to do a double, like a stick-on and a hammer-on, or both stick-on. Now these here, there's a few buttons here, I have no idea what they mean. I've never used them. 15 years we've had this machine. There's that one. This one's aluminum spoke. It's going to try and read where the spokes are and put the weights that they're hidden. These are different functions you can change, and that would be able to change the weight, like from grams to ounces or whatever you want. This is the Ghostbuster symbol here I use. That's what will reset. If you're putting a new tire on here, hit that and your triple lines will come across. Okay, so now I'll show the weights here. We'll put them on, and then I'll do a respin to show that that wheel's balanced. I will add here though, say this still had weights on it, and you had it from a vehicle that a customer had a vibration. This is the indicator that would say, I fixed this vibration. He's got wheel weights on it, the car has wheel weights on it, but yet it's still out 1.25 ounces and 0.75. That I can definitely, I don't even have to go for a test drive after, I'm going to fix this vibration. So that's the diagnostic part of this tool. It's easy, but we're just doing a straight out as if we change the tire, we're going to balance. So there's two types of, well, there's the stick-on wheel weights, which I referred to, but whenever you get the hammer-ons, there's two that we have here. There's actually more depending on the wheels. One is for a steel wheel, so the open one, or some of them might have a hole on them, okay, a hole or open. Those are for steel wheels. And an aluminum wheel, this is a steel wheel, an aluminum wheel would take, and I always refer to that as an A. It looks like an A. So that is for an aluminum wheel. There's other types of wheel weights out there that we don't get into. We'll usually jump right to using stick-on wheel weights for those. So now I'm looking for 1.25 ounces for this side. I got 1.25 ounces here. That wasn't premeditated. And as I spin this, you've got to put it at the right spot or you're not going to balance the tire. So as I spin this, LEDs will come up and you'll get a red to yellow to green. Okay. It'll beep when it hits green right on. Should, there we go. Okay, and I'll hit the foot brake down here. It doesn't prevent it from turning, it just prevents a little bit, I guess. If you want to turn it, you still can. So there's a little arrow here. But basically you're going top dead center or 12 o'clock. You're going to bang on your wheel weight. Okay, and on the other side, the weights might be in a different spot, which it is. So I'm going to find a 0.75 hammer-on wheel weight here. Again, spin it to where I need it to be. I'll hit the brake. Now I usually just line up my point. But I mean, you can look at the top of the circle, pick the top of the circle. Now that one needs, we reuse weights here. Okay, so now my weights are on, everything being good. The odd time, you'll balance a wheel you'll put the weights on where they are, you'll spin it again, and it'll show it needs more weights. You'll put the weights on, spin it again, it needs more weights. What's happening there is either you got your setup wrong, so you didn't give that spin, or sometimes in the aftermarket there will be those things you can buy that you can gunk you can put in your tire. If you had a leaky tire, you can put gunk in it and it'll find the hole and seal. A lot of times that stuff doesn't work. It stays wet inside, so it's like having water inside your tire, so it's always just going to slosh around, which is going to cause an imbalance. As well, you can just get normal water in your tire from a bad air source that has too much water in the lines. So those are some of the things you want to keep in mind as you're diagnosing or running into troubles. So there we are, 000, that's the goal. And that wheel will be able to go on a tire, or a car, please, and shouldn't have any vibrations. Thank you.